We are less than 3 weeks away from the election, and still looks like it could go a lot of different ways and certainly impact the market in a lot of different ways. So with me is a Wall Street veteran, Alan Valdes, just to kind of, we've been doing this every week just to talk about how we see the market shaping up, the election. I mean, what are your thoughts at where we are on this day?
Well, like you said, we're basically 3 weeks away. Joe Biden still leads. I mean, his latest polls, it's 52-42. He leads by 10 points in the latest polls. So, and in the swing states, he's leading. He's leading in just narrowly, but he's leading in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. He's leading slightly, Biden. It's too close to call in Florida. And it's also too close to call in, where else did I put down here? In North Carolina, which was he won easily last time, Trump. So Wall Street is hedging their bets, and as a matter of fact, they're giving a lot of money to Joe Biden. He's winning the money battle by like 3-1 right now, because Wall Street, if they have a winner, they try to back the winner, and they don't believe Biden will raise taxes. Because they feel by the time he doesn't raise taxes, the Bernie Sanders and the AOC people will be in the rearview mirror, and he'll have 4 years to make it up to them again. So they don't think he's really serious about raising taxes, which would cripple. I mean, if you look at Seattle's raising taxes by 700% on businesses. They're all leaving. I mean, the city's going to go into a depression. It makes no sense, these people. But I think if you look at some of these big cities, they plan on doing that because they're desperate. At least with this president, they're not getting any federal help. So they're desperate to raise taxes, and they're leaving. The businesses are leaving. But right now in the presidential race, it's probably it's definitely hedging for Biden, but it still might be a little too early to call. But if I'm a betting guy, I have to bet with Biden now. I'll be honest with you, because he's leading by 10 points with less than 3 weeks to go.
Well, I wrote down like some of the key states: Florida, North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada, Minnesota, Michigan, New Mexico. So I think, we're going to have an idea. A lot of those are East Coast states, or at least Eastern times, and we might have an idea even that night, at least. But, you've got this whole issue. What happens if we don't know that night and this drags on? What do you think the market, how will it react?
Well, the market, if it's like you said, if it's a blowout early, then of course the game's over for whatever it is. But what we're also watching is the Senate race. With the Republicans can't win the House. We know that. That's impossible. But the Senate race, a lot of these Senate races on the East Coast are up. And they could be critical. If, in fact, say Trump wins the presidency but loses the Senate, but keeps the House, but the Democrats keep the House, and he's a lame duck, no matter who gets into the court. So, I mean, you got to watch. That is almost as critical as the White House this year. Who wins the Senate? Because we know who's going to win the House, and that's going to be the Democrats. They're just not up for a vote, most of them, so they'll be good. But the Senate, there's like 6 seats up where if they swing the other way, you could definitely see this thing go Democratic. And then the problem is in a contested election, the Senate can vote for the president. And of course, we'll see what happens there. If it swings around and the Democrats have it, then, it's going to be a mess, though, if it's a close race. That's why really for Trump, he's got to win by a landslide. Anything close, and we won't know till next year who won. I can guarantee you that'll be a mess, and that'll really disturb the markets. The markets hate uncertainty. They'll be okay if Biden wins, because that's what it is. They'll play that game, and they'll be okay, of course, with Trump winning. But if no one wins, the uncertainty that will kill the market. It really will. So that's the big thing, and we have no way to play it because you're still going to have the pandemic. And we saw prime example yesterday. The market was down 150 points on Johnson & Johnson, Eli Lilly, either closing tests or slowing down tests or stopping altogether. And today the market's up 150 on earnings. So, I mean, it's going to swing so quick. It could be either the earnings, so we're in a new earnings cycle, or it can be the pandemic. And for the pandemic, the Lillys and the Johnson & Johnsons are definitely hedging, and they're not getting the virus, what they want to get out of the testing, and they close down. That's going to drop the market. So the market could go either way real quickly on this news. And on the election, if there's no winner, yeah, it'll be a mess.
Oh yeah, no, it's going to be. I mean, I remember what 2000 was like,
Oh,
and this
this
is
is 2000 on steroids.
it's right. I mean, because we have the Senate also. There's going to be lawsuits like out the wazoo
Yeah.
if we don't know. I mean, I think the Biden team has 600 lawyers or something to look at this.
Oh, can you imagine? Yeah.
It's
And
crazy.
but again, if he wins in a landslide, that's a different story. Then it's, I mean, it's he wins, he wins.
Yeah,
But it's going to be interesting. It really will be interesting.
for sure.
And again, it's the first time we have a lot of things going on with the pandemic. We'll have the Republicans will obviously have the edge in the Supreme Court if it comes down to that, because
Mhm.
Amy's going to be confirmed 1, 2, 3 here. It looks like. I mean, they'll try to slow it down, but even then, they can't slow it forever. So she'll get in. But it's a crazy time in U.S. politics. I've never seen anything like this.
Oh
Jane.
yeah. No, and I kind of hope I don't ever again. I mean, this is I
Uh-uh.
love that people are engaged and interested and informed, because I feel like there was a period of time there that a lot of people didn't vote. They didn't really know, who was the cooler candidate, things like. I like that people know the issues more, but there's so much animosity.
Yeah, you know what's interesting though? In the latest polls, the Republicans are registering more people than the Democrats. The millennials, which are basically probably mostly Democrats, don't feel like voting, it seems. For whatever reason, they just don't come out and vote. So it's going to be interesting to see how the voting goes. If we have a big turnout, I think that kind of favors the Democrats. But if the turnout's like always and the millennials don't vote, I think that's going to favor the Republicans. So there is so much guesswork going on. It's going to be something. And of course, the electoral college states out there in the Midwest and Indiana, in those places out there, we don't know how they're going to vote yet. Um, it's
Yeah.
going to, yeah, I don't think we'll know on November 4th, put it that way.
I'm just terrified I'm not going to sleep from like November 3rd to January. So that's my biggest fear. But okay, so final question, Alan. I mean,
Yeah.
what would you say to somebody, I mean, that is trying to position themselves in terms of investments heading into so much uncertainty?
Well, I'd say stay in cash right now. If you're in the market in stocks, like say hypothetically, if you're in the techs right now, I would stay in your positions. Uh, I think if you get out, it could go either way. I mean, both sides, Democrats and Republicans, have their own agendas. I think the Republicans will be good for like manufacturing, the airlines. Techs will be good for like, I mean, the Democrats probably be good for the techs and everything because they've given them so much money. But I would stay in cash. I wouldn't put any money to work right now. We have to, under certain rules, put some money to work, but we're doing it holding our nose. So we definitely recommend just staying careful.
Yeah.
Don't put anything big to risk right now. As the polls tighten up, I mean, you still have time. Like you mentioned, you have basically 3 weeks left. So as they tighten up, you can figure out which way it's going and then maybe put money to work. But right now, stay set, watch the news, listen to Jane King, and go from there.
Well, and it's 2020 after all, so anything can happen. So staying in cash, at least somewhat, is very smart.
Remember what happened in 1920, 100 years ago? I mean, the market started to capitulate and went into a depression. Let's hope we don't go
Oh,
there.
goodness
But
gracious.
another
Yeah.
thing we're watching is Southern Europe. Southern Europe's got big problems. And, people think China's our biggest trading partner. It's not. China's our biggest importer, but
Mhm.
Europe is actually our biggest trading partner. And now, if you look at Greece, Italy, southern France, Portugal, all these countries are really almost in depression-like numbers out there. They make us look like we're having a great year, but it's terrible. So we have to watch that because what happens over there could definitely affect these markets too coming in 2021.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that. And so tourism dependent, and they're still kind of
Mhm.
locking down over there. I don't think we'll ever do that again here, but
I
uh,
don't think so, except for some of these cities like New York.
yeah.
But it's crazy. It really, the whole world is in flux, and that will definitely have an effect on our markets, but especially Europe. So we got to keep an eye on Europe.
Okay, good point. We'll do that. Thank you so much, Alan. Always a joy, and we'll talk to you next week.
Jane, have a great
Okay.
weekend, and come down to Florida. It's beautiful down here.
I may just not leave. Okay. Bye.
Bye bye.